Welcome, everybody, to the REINVESTORS virtual road trip, where we are going across the country, coast to coast, interviewing real estate investors and professionals from each province and showcasing the towns they invest in so that you, wherever you are watching from, can get more knowledge of investing in other successful markets.
And today we have a great guest with us who actually lives just up the island from us. He is a national award-winning investor with over 20 years experience, winning such awards as the Joint Venture of the Year Award and the Creative Strategies of the Year Award through REIN. This gentleman has been buying rental properties between BC and Alberta throughout his career and is currently living in and building his portfolio in beautiful Port Alberni, a small town just a few hours north of Victoria on Vancouver Island. Through the School of Hard Knocks and teaching leadership as a passion, he has become a wealth of knowledge when it comes to being a landlord and is currently publishing a book on how landlords can build better relationships with their tenants. We're excited to have him on the tour and share more about his incredible strategies and why he is investing in a small town like Port Alberni. Welcome to the tour, Gary Spencer Smith.
Thank you. And I think we're pretty much, unless you get someone from Tofino, we're as far west as we can go, I think, here in Alberni. So cool. The only other town after us is Tofino, and that's it. That's as far west as you can get in Canada.
Love it. Why don't you tell us a little bit what got you started in investing and how's you living in Port Alberni now?
In the quick 30 seconds, what got me started in investing was, at a young age, I had this idea that I wanted 2 or 3 rental houses, and that was kind of my retirement. I don't know where that idea came from. It was just a belief that I had. I actually started doing it professionally where that was my life, my income, probably about 10 years ago, but I've had properties, for, like you mentioned, over 20 years. And in Alberni, I came here on holiday in 1993, so I date myself a little bit. I was 16 years old, and I had a couple of cousins that lived on this lake, Sproat Lake, in the Alberni Valley. And I remember, they've got the boats, the jet skis, and this life isn't available in England. I remember thinking, I want to live here one day. That's it. I was sold. And bit of my past, I went off into the Royal Navy for 11 years. I got injured in service, and then I thought, I'm going to emigrate. So I emigrated out to Vancouver Island here, and 20 years later, I bought a house on the lake where I'd said I was going to live one day. And the most recent purchase on the lake is actually the pub, that first place I ever got drunk in my life as a 16-year-old on holiday. Let's not tell the authorities that one. Yeah, so it's quite serendipitous how everything's come full cycle, and that all became possible because of real estate. Those emigrating to Canada would have happened, but everything else after that would not have happened if I hadn't been investing in real estate. So yeah, it's
an incredible story listening to it, and we've obviously shared a lot of stories back and forth through the time getting to know each other, and always amazing hearing the different stories you have throughout your years of investing. Before we jump into the interview, people are going to want to reach out to you after this, maybe ask some questions. What's the best way for people to reach out to you outside of this interview?
So the best way is to email, probably, and email info@revenue. So revenue is on the t-shirt there, revenue.com. Would be the best way for initial contact. I'm typically a telephone guy, so I like to chat on the phone. I'm not like these young whippersnappers that it's all text and Snapchat. That's not me. Yeah. No, so yeah, telephone. But if you reach out by email first, then we'll try and schedule something in that can work and have a conversation with people.
I can only imagine you on Snapchat.
I have a Bitmoji.
I believe it. Dude, we've got a really cool relationship. It's going back a while now, and I think we share an initial fundamental about real estate investing, and it's you got to track the data. You got to know the data. You got to know your market. So let's talk about the market of Port Alberni and where you're investing now. What do the demographics look like? What's the industry driving that? Are you in a hot market, cold market, average home prices, average rents, cap rates, etc.? Let's dive in. So
the market itself, if you were to look at it statistically on the numbers, it hasn't had a huge population growth. I think from the last census to the most recent, this is truly, the population growth was 1. And it was definitely one day, I'm looking at it going, is this for real? But I'll take a step back. I didn't start investing in the Alberni Valley because of these numbers. I've learned this after the fact. If I was to know what I knew now and then look at Port Alberni as a town, I probably wouldn't have jumped in. It worked for me because it's where I was at. And it's, I wanted to be hands-on. I was actually, the contractor, the property manager. So it made sense for me to do it within half an hour of where I wanted to drive to. I didn't want to be driving for 2-3 hours getting on a plane. Mm-hmm. So as a market, it didn't look like it was going to be a growing market. But my method was, hey, you know what? I don't care if it goes up in value ever. If I pay the mortgage down over the next 20 years, I'm okay. That was literally my mindset behind it. As a market drivers, so having a real local expertise knowledge is crucial to being really successful. And I think understanding this market and the little idiosyncrasies of it, like there is a lot of First Nation bands here. We've got the Nuchal North, the Muchal North. You know, I think there's a total, and I could be wrong here, that like 17 to 20, that number of First Nation bands. And there's a lot of government, well, their own self-government and the government supporting what they pay for. So a lot of money comes into the valley and goes out through this. And I would honestly say that probably supports the community more or equal to the industry. So the jobs that go with that, you know, I mean, even the high school, we got a brand new high school, we got a new hospital, we got, you know, there is stuff going on here that doesn't happen in a lot of other small towns on the scale it does. And it's because we have this, and I'm not saying it's the government spending, but the local governments, like the First Nation governments, they are spending, making their communities better. So there's an off spin of that. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to leave. Like they're not going to up. It's not like an industry that's going to leave and move. Like this is their, you know, their traditional territories. They're not going to leave that. So I think once you understand that and that side of the market, it does become a secure place to invest. Is it going to always have huge growth? No, probably not. Not unless we get the actual drivers behind it, the population growth, the true high-paying job growth. I mean, we've got Coulson's water bombers. That guy operates in four continents doing firefighting. They're literally flying 737s into our local airport and converting them into firefighting jets. Mm-hmm. So there is industry that's happening, but people aren't aware of that. So I think it's really, you know, knowing those tiny little things. This is a huge global operation. He bases out of the valley. Little things like that I observe. And I think coming in from Europe, I saw what happened to a rundown mining town, you know, with a small, and then I've watched that grow over 20 years. And I looked at Port Alberni as the same. I'm like, we're just a generation behind. So it has, I mean, anyone who's been here and truly went out in the valley, it is beautiful. Like it is one of the warmest places. I think it is the warmest place on the island in the summer for sure because of the valley. We get up to like late 30s into the 40s in the summer. We got beautiful clean lakes, you know, fresh salmon runs, mountains galore. Like I ride dirt bikes. So it's a lifestyle based town, but it's not a huge population town. So the tenant profile is redneck, for want of a better word. You got to understand that and I grade my tenants, as you know, I'll grade them A, B, and C and match them to the houses. It's a B, mostly C market. So the challenges that come with that are people are living check to check. So if you're going to invest, you got to be willing to understand that, hey, in between jobs, you might be carrying someone for a month while they find a new job. And then, you know, but that builds tenant-client relationships. So you got to factor that in when you're buying the houses. It's not going to be this working professional couple that's going to pay top dollar and you're never going to have any minor issues with. And once you understand that and you plan and you put that into your plan, then it's easy to manage. So yeah, it does have its challenges as a town as well. You know, we have a lot of, I think because it's so small, it's a lot more visible. Like you think of Vancouver as a town, people think of Vancouver as this beautiful city. But we know when we go over there are parts of Vancouver that, you know, huge parts of Vancouver that are really destitute. And, you know, the drugs on this, you guys see it, you know what it's like. Well, we have that in Port as well, like any other city. But because we're so small and confined, people can observe it here. There's no way around it. It's actually like, oh, there it is on the corner. So I think that's common across most places and most small towns. But yeah, it's a beautiful place to live, and it's been a beautiful place for me to invest in for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I love visiting up there. I love the lakes. You know, you pass through Port Alberni to get to Tofino, which is one of the most beautiful places in the entire world. The beaches just there are absolutely breathtaking, and it's a great place to get away. What about what's your entry level? You know, for Victoria, your average home price is like $850 or something like that, but you can still get into a single family home in like the West Shores, you know, the high fives type of thing. What are you seeing in the Port Alberni in the valley?
So I'm just going to talk the average. And I know, you know, there is no such thing as an average because there's always opportunities and things that'll drive people's prices. But for want of a better word, the average house price is going to be around, for a rundown house, $260 to $340. And then after reno, that'll be worth $370 to $420 in that ballpark. That's going to be average. Now, if there's a new subdivision built, those houses are all 500 plus. And they're built, like the 3 up with the 1-bedroom suite kind of thing attached. So they're all 5 up. And then we also have Sproat Lake in the Alberni Valley where, that's waterfront properties, and a lot is $1 million up to like $5 million. So we really do have everything across. Multifamilies, you can pick up for around 80 to 100,000 a door.
Nice.
Which needs some work. So there is, most, if you're looking to invest, I tell people you need $100,000 to $150,000 to get started in the Alberni Valley. And that would be a deposit, a bit of a reno budget, and then start from that.
And what kind of like total rent would you get out of a property like that?
So my favorite type is we call them the BC box. It's typically a 2,000 square foot box, split level, where you can suite them. You can get a 3-bedroom up and a 2-bedroom down. You will typically, we've just had a huge jump in rents, as a lot of places have. So you will typically get $1,500 to $1,600 for a nice, well-finished 3-bedroom. And you'll get $1,100, $1,200 for a 2-bedroom suite. So you can get anywhere between $25,000 and $3,000 off a property that you're going to spend about $300 to $320 on. So we can get close to that 1% rule. Yeah. And sometimes you can get that 1% rule, and sometimes you're just below it, but it'd be a more finished house with less work.
And just in case nobody knows or somebody doesn't know about what the 1% rule is, the 1% rule is if your monthly rent is 1% of your purchase price for your money in, then that's a good deal. And typically here in Victoria, we don't have like the 1% rule does not exist down here. And it wouldn't in major markets like Vancouver or Toronto or that kind of stuff. So for us here, it's a 0.63% rule, but we're always looking to increase that as far up to a 1% as possible. And so jumping into a market like Port Alberni, where you're already so close to it, your cash flow is going to be good.
Yeah, and it is. That was what, as I learned more and, my education grew around investments, I realized that I was in a high cash flow market with a lower appreciation. That's how it was. Now, just because everything went absolutely nuts, which we couldn't plan for, we had like 28%, 22%, and, in the 20s again, like 3 years in a row. So everyone who bought 5 years ago, like my joint venture partners now, who we did all houses with like 5 years ago, I'm like, see, told you, I look like a legend, but that was not planned. So it really wasn't planned. It was planned that, hey, we'll do the cash flow, we'll pay it down. It's a 5 to 10 year term. Then we're going to do okay. So,
Steve and I say the same thing.
But I'm going to milk it with my JV partners all the time.
Yeah, we don't claim to be absolute experts in the industry. We just bought the right properties at the right time, and they made us look great. So we're like, totally ride that train.
Ability to make an investor look good. If you buy a house and hold it for 10 years, you're probably going to look okay. So yeah. So, but it wasn't the intention, and that's not the intention. It shouldn't be the intention jumping into this market. We do have, again, local experience again. We have a lot of developments going on that are multifamily, like they're knocking down 60 homes and building 300. So our market's going to soften, and they're going from a 2-story to a 4-story units. They're rezoning that whole area. And there's another 30 unit coming online. There's another 40, there's lots of properties coming in that's going to really take that demand out of the market. It's still going to be there, but even when we were running at 6-7%, as you guys know, I tell you, if you can make your house the nicest in that bracket, you're going to have a demand for it. Yeah. So it's just case, I had this discussion with someone else who's actually renovating right now, and he bought the white goods for the kitchen, but he bought the steel ring, the white thing for because it was cheap and it'll last forever. And I was like, no, you want the nice stainless, and I don't care if it lasts forever, because when the vacancy rate goes up, which it will, you want your kitchen to be the one that people walk in and go, if they've got a choice, they want your kitchen ahead of that kitchen. Because 1 month vacant, you just lost $1,500. Well, you can buy 2 new stoves for that. So,
it's a great
he was like, okay. So it's understanding the picture of what's going on in the market, and I think that local knowledge 2-3 years ahead as well, knowing, going to the council meetings and knowing that, hey, this zone and this huge subdevelopment's coming online. So what am I doing now to make sure I'm still in demand then?
And you have such an advantage over us down here. Like, we have 13 municipalities, so 13 councils and 13 different municipalities to track on what's happening. And each one of them has their different views on densification and development and, suites and renos and permitting and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know how many are in Port Alberni, but it's a small enough town. I'm guessing like 1 or 2.
Well, we've got the regional district, which is kind of like, your Saanich, that's more into your farmland, your aviary, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we've really got one main one that really pulls the punches. And the mayor of our community is actually, she used to be my mortgage broker. So yeah, and does
small town logic there, where your mortgage broker is the mayor.
I know exactly, you know, the mindset of that person. We actually did a business together for a couple of years as well. So it's nice to have that. I don't want to say it, I don't have the background knowledge because we don't discuss that kind of stuff, but just to know who you're actually electing into positions when you're voting, because it does make a difference on you as a small person in a town. I know people think, oh, I'm not voting, it doesn't matter. Like at that level of investing, you know, are they going to allow suites? Are they going to allow carriage houses? Are they going to allow this kind of subdividing that? Like, it's good to know the people that are going in and how they think, because is it going to benefit you or not? And if it is, great, vote for them. So the policies, so yeah.
Well, it sounds like your typical, you know, buy low, add some value, you know, add a suite type of thing, rent it out, gain some cash flow, maybe get some appreciation over some, you know, some coming years. That's a strategy that is, you know, known in pretty much every market. Two questions that kind of follow that is, one, is there a creative strategy that really does work in Port Alberni outside of that, you know, standard cookie cutter type strategy? And two, what's the strategy that doesn't work at all in Port Alberni?
So I'll go to the first one. What is a creative? So in Port, and I think we're going to see a lot of this as well just now. I mean, I don't know, whenever people watch this video, you know, that we're sitting here now in 2020, coming towards the end of a COVID. And I think we're going to start to see the economic fallout from that in the next 3 to 12 months. Mm-hmm. And I believe, because this was an opportunity that I picked up on when I was grabbing houses way back when I was in a real active buying phase, is the agreement for sale. So if you can get someone to sign over, you know, an agreement for sale. We've got one running at the minute and it doesn't close till 2024. But in the meantime, we control and own that property and we just don't have to finish the balloon payment till then. Sure, we give them some money in the meantime. And an example of how that really worked for me in this market was somebody passed away. I think we talked about this on a previous thing. Someone passed away, they inherited the house and they could not afford the bills on the house. It was actually a struggle to them in their life because, like I mentioned, you know, these people are living check to check, as are most people, right? That's not even an unusual situation for people. You know, they live the check, they pay the bills, they spend what's left. So if you can go in and solve that problem for that person, and we said, hey, we want to buy your house, but you know what? We're not going to get a mortgage in the condition that it's on for what we need. So how about we have an agreement for sale, which for, you know, just to make people aware, that's saying that you're agreeing to buy it, you give them an amount of money, whatever you can negotiate on that, and then you don't close until the future. If you don't close, you lose that amount of money. So we said, we'll do all the rental, we'll get the insurance, we'll make sure I indemnify you, we'll take on the liability, we'll reno it, rent it out. Once we get it, the new appraisal, then we'll pay you exactly what you want. And I think it was like, I'm trying to think the numbers now, it was like 140,000 at the time. So he was like, oh, thank you. And I said, and have you been paying the hydro? I heard that's because again, you get some information. I hear the hydro has been a bit of a pain because he'd run a bill up and you had to pay that. Yeah, it was like $1,500. I went, you know what? We'll pay you that as well. So we not only paid the hydro from the past, because he was happy, he was struggling. So let's solve his problems. And he was helping us by signing this piece of paper. So we were truly trying to help and create a win-win for everybody. So everyone walked away happy. We took it on, I think 4 or 5 months later, refinanced it. It was worth $220, $230 by the time we finished. We'd spent 50 grand on it. So not a lot, but we pulled the money out, paid him. And now that house is sitting about 379, 389. It's got tenant up and down and brings in $2,500 a month. So we cash flow, I think, about $700 off that house a month.
Beautiful. Agreement for sales are going to
that agreement for sale, that worked really well. If you're in not a high income market, because that's where people will get stuck and pressure and money's an issue. And if you have the capital to go help someone, great, then why not go do it and everybody wins.
Agreement for sales are really cool, especially if you can partner them with JVs and things like that. That's what we just did on one of our flips. Is we did basically an agreement for sale with someone, similar situation. Their mom passed away. They didn't want to deal with the property. It was a headache. It was out of the town. They didn't know who to list it with, all this stuff. We said, hey, we'll give you this set price. You just hold the property while we renovate it, clean it up. And then we did a joint venture on the back end that said, hey, if we get more than what we were actually anticipating, we're willing to share some of that revenue with you. And it was just a great way to go through and mix an agreement for sale with a joint venture. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. We're not gouging them trying to take all their money. We're saying, hey, if we get compensated this, then we're willing to share some of the profit with you for helping us out and making this go great. And it was a great property and a great win for everyone.
Yeah, and that's I think if you're in a smaller market where people are, working check to check, there are, and I don't want to say a depressed market because no one's depressed. I would just say a normal working class town. That's what I live in. That's where it is. Then those kind of opportunities pop up if you can solve problems. But you got to know how to do that. So I think it's important to get that educated, because I didn't know how to do that when I started. I didn't even know what a JV was, any of that kind of stuff. So it was, I kind of stumbled across these things as they happened. And then now, obviously, my knowledge is a bit more than what it was back then. So I can actually actively apply these measures when I see those incidents come up. But buying a house, sweeten it, that's a really good strategy in the Alberni Valley here. And even if you just buy a small house, you can pick a small house up. We'll get to that. I know we're going to come to that bit, so I don't want to. We could talk for hours.
And to save somebody kind of stumbling into the market, what's a strategy that doesn't work there? Is it like high-end VRBOs type of thing, or is it still that, or maybe it's multifamily, commercial?
So no, multifamily is actually pretty good here. So there's a lot of big multifamilies because it's a lower price to rent. So it's just it's a lower income town. So yeah, they're looking. People just are trying to save some money. I would say higher end flips because the market buying is smaller. And by higher end, I mean 500,000 plus. Like these new subdivisions, a lot of the people that are buying in these subdivisions are people that I call it the ripple effect from the golden egg dropping. So, the golden egg, people retire, the baby boomers in a town like Qualicum Beach, which for those that don't know, it's like it's a newlyweds and nearly dead. So that's what we call it over this side. It's a beautiful town. There's no fast food places allowed, and it's a wealthier place. But what they're doing is living off their pension. They've got this nice house that they moved from, say, Vancouver, moved to Qualicum, live for 5-10 years, and now they're like, oh, my money's running out. So they're pulling up from there, moving here, but they don't want to move into the 70s and 80s type houses that were here. So they're going into the new subdivisions and building something that's worth 600 grand and pocketing another $400,000 or $500,000 from the other side of the hill where they're now going to live off that for the next 10 years. So if I was flipping houses in that, unless you're at the developer level, that I wouldn't be getting into something, anything over 400 grand, I wouldn't be touching that for a flip. The market's just too small.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Great point.
Doesn't mean it won't work, but you'd have to be willing to carry that for some time. Days on market was, until we were in this crazy heated market that happened the last few years, the days on the market were higher. Yeah. You were talking 70 to 100 was normal for a house on the market.
Wow.
So now it's like, if you're over 50 at the minute, like there's something wrong with your house.
You might be getting quite a bit of attention up in Port Alberni now from a bunch of different investors with your daughter and on the American Idol there. For those that don't know, Gary's daughter made a good run on American Idol, and she did a performance on Sprout Lake where Gary lives. And all the comments, anything ever said was, "Oh my God, where are you? That is the most gorgeous place I've ever seen." So I know Port Alberni is making a name across the world right now just based on that. So.
I'm expecting Lionel Richie to show up and go fishing with Brian there.
So awesome bit of a shout out to your daughter for getting that far, and for you guys for supporting her along that way. And just thought it was really cool that she did her performance in Port Alberni, and that's where you live. So I thought that was a cool connection to make.
And it was quite, the way that came about was because Lauren lives in Nanaimo with her mom. Yeah. And it just, because we came back, we had to be quarantined. So it was like they had to do it then. They were looking around all the people and they were like, oh, let's look around your house, check your bedroom, check your living room. And they like panned past the window. They went, wait, go back. And they're like, what's that? And they were like, okay, can you film it? You got a deck? They went outside. Went, that's what we're filming. Done.
So rad. I want to quickly jump into a deal and just analyze a deal with you in Port Alberni. Now, there's probably a dozen that we've talked about that would all work for this, and we're pretty involved in understanding a lot of your deals. I want to start with the first one quickly of where your office is right now and how you guys did that, because I think that's something cool that so many people that are investing in big cities might not think, like a spoiler alert, that a car dealership would be something that would be up for sale or a purchasable price, right? A building like that. And you saw some incredible opportunity there and turned it into this amazing cash revenue property. I don't know if you want to kind of just run us through the details of how that one came about. And
so I'll tell you how that came, because it was so crazy how that happened. So I think, and this is important, if you're interested in or actively investing in real estate, let people know, because then people will speak to you about things. And one of them, those things might just be great. And here's a prime example. Chrissy, my other half, she volunteers with the Alberni District Fall Fair. So she does that every year, and it's a year round, they put on the big fall fair every year, the rides, all that. And it's I believe it's the biggest fundraiser in the Valley. It raises like hundreds of thousands of dollars that go back into the community. Well, one of the fair members actually passed away. So we went to his funeral. We're sitting at the funeral. One of the ladies at the table, she was talking to Chrissy, and she's like, "Oh, I'm trying to sell my building and it's not selling." And Chrissy's like, "Oh, speak to Gary." So she's like, "Oh yeah." So she's talking away, and I'm trying to be polite. So I'm speaking to Laurie, and I'm like, "Sure, you know what? I'll come by, and we had a couple of beers. We're at the wake." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll stop by. Yeah, I'll let you know what I think." And in my mind, I wasn't really intending to buy this building. It was just I was being courteous. And anyway, I'm driving down the road to my other office, which is down past his, and I seen her outside having a smoke. We don't condone smoking. And I was just like, "Oh, you know what? I said I'd go." And because, if you say you do something, you should. And it all triggered in my head. So I did a U-turn, went back, went, "Okay, let me see, Laurie." And from the front, it looks like these little 3 shops. That's all it looks like. So I went in, she's like, "Yeah, let me show you around." And I'm walking around. I'm looking, going, "Oh, it's not a bad space." So this used to be the old Ford dealership. So from the front, it just looks like, you would see a normal old car dealership, 3 rooms with 3 bay garage on the end, which would have been the mechanic shop. I'm walking around, I'm looking. She goes, "Oh, let me take you on the middle floor." Takes me in this middle floor. And it's like, this was all built with first growth fur in the 50s, overbuilt. Like the beams are 10 by 10, true 10 by 10s, if not bigger. Beautiful. All the floors and ceilings are 2 by 10, butted up side on side. There's not a millimeter gap. You could park a tank on this thing. And I'm looking, thinking, like, this wood's got to be worth a fortune. Like, I'm thinking knocking it down right now. I'm thinking, this is like amazing lumber. And then she goes, "Oh, and then there's this bit out back." Walks me into this 4,000 square foot warehouse that's 30 foot tall with these huge single beams inside the roof. And I'm just like, and then in the middle section, it's all like it's every 8 foot, there's one of these big 10 by 10 beams. And I'm like, well, if I just frame that off, I've got like a mini storage, mini storage, mini storage, mini storage, mini storage. Then I'm in the warehouse. Then I go out back. There's another 2 big garage. It was the paint shop that's now 25 foot tall. And I'm thinking, well, then there's another bit that was the 6 bay that was the body shop. And so in my head, I'm just thinking, okay, so if you even just rent the space, I could get like $1,000 here, 1,000. I'm doing math in my head, and I'm like, I could probably get $7,000 like easily. And I was like, "How much do you want for it?" She went, $600,000. I was like, done. I didn't even know where the money was coming from, what I was doing. We discussed it very briefly, that 1% rule. I knew that cash flow, period. And I was just like, done. How much do you want? When do you want a deposit? I went and got it, signed the agreement for sale, got it signed. I gave her a couple of $1,000, spend the money, and then made it work. And then I went and found the joint venture. So we got 4 other people and myself. We each put, no, actually, it wasn't even $600,000. It was $500,000. So,
keeps getting better.
It just gets better. It was 5 of us put $100,000 in each, and then we then got $200,000 private mortgage against the place, so we could do all the rentals because it needed a new roof. The roof was $60,000, which we knew going in. There was nothing came out of that. We knew we were spending $150,000 to $200,000 in rentals, and now we've got an electrician rents a space, a roofing company. We use it for our office and our green screen studio and everything's here. The property management company that we used to have and have now sold, he's still based out of here. There's a fabric company. Our plumber that we use all the time took a 2 bay garage. The Fishing Duck Resort rents the warehouse to store the boats in the winter. So it's a nice cash flowing property. We did get an appraisal. So again, disclaimer on the other side of that, we went and got an appraisal, and I know Kevin's got a great appraisal story, so it's not as bad as his, but the appraisal was just ridiculous. Like, it just came like, what are you comparing us to? Like, he got 10 comparables being from are you allowed to swear on here? The shit. He got the shittest property ever sold in Port Alberni, and like one of the nicest, and went, "Yeah, you probably, I'll just take the average in the middle." I went, "But we're not the average. We're like way above average. I mean, we got beautiful cedar siding on the building. Like, we renovated it." I'm just like, we're in the top percentile. So it didn't matter which assessment he did, because he was taking the average, it actually dragged us way down. So our appraisal came in at basically what we bought it for plus spent on rentals, when really it's probably worth just off income. And income's about $8,000, and that is under rented. So we've got an empty space still sitting for a shop because we don't need to rent it. So let's just wait until we get the right tenant in there. So realistically, it should make about 10 grand a month. And with a newer building, the value should be around $1 million, 1.1. So realtors have come in and said, yeah, if I was selling it, I'd list it about that based on your incomes. So we'll just wait a couple of years and then get it appraised again. Hopefully it's a different guy.
One of my favorite things about that strategy was just how you took it was just such an easy conversation, weren't even interested, walked in and then went, hey, I can actually do this, this, and this. And so instead of looking at it as, a commercial property, you looked at it as how can I actually suite this out to different people? You created those suites and then you actually brought in your own guys. Like you brought in your own plumbers and your own team, right? Gave them a bit of a discount on rent. So now they're happy. So now you're actually supporting your team and allowing them to do that. And just the way you've divvied up that property and made it work was probably one of the coolest strategies I've seen. And you don't get those opportunities in places like Vancouver, Victoria, or Ontario, big town Ontario. You don't really see that kind of opportunity come up. And that's one of the things I loved about Port Alberni was that there are opportunities like that, kind of all up and down the strip there of maybe some, off commercial properties that you could put storage into, or that you could create, different types of rentals or rent out. And you said that, there's a big demand for trades guys there because there's just nowhere for them to store their stuff. So I just
one of the things that actually attracted, again, that local knowledge and, being that, like there's the new 20 something unit building was going just up the road. There's the First Nations who treated out, they built a massive, and I don't even know how many units in there. I'm guessing 35, 40, something like that. Or literally the other side. Right behind me was this old hotel that got knocked down and they're building a 4-story building there. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, all these people around me have got these little condos. So why not provide somewhere for them to stick their ski gear, their mountain bikes within walking distance? So that's what made me think of the mini storage. So all this stuff's going on in my head. And any house I go to, and I think this is a great practice for any investor to get into, is even if you hate the house, it's disgusting, you don't want it, always, always, always say, but what could I do if I had to buy it and had to make it work? Not that you're going to, but it'll make you start to think of what you can do or could do. And when you think of those kind of problems solved, you'll be able to apply to something else. Because the same problems recur all the time. It's not like there's no new problems come up in real estate. Like people have been living in houses for millennia and, the same things come out. They got to heat it, roof leaks. It's like, they got to buy the house. They run out of money. They got to move away for work. Like all that stuff is just going to keep going, keep happening. So once you understand how to solve one problem, you can apply that to many different avenues.
I think too, something that's super important is the ability to act quickly. And so, you being an expert in your market where you're shopping is vital to being able to, beat other interested parties. And so you had the ability to know like exactly what it's going to rent for, what the, renovation costs are going to be, who's going to be your tenants, all that kind of stuff. And we're able to think on the fly, be like, yeah, you know what, this is going to be a deal that's going to be successful. Let's make it happen.
And I think having that network of people as well, which I know you guys have a great experience in this, when deals do come up that are good, you can pick up the phone and get straight on the phone and go, hey, here's this deal. This is what I'm looking for. This is the money. And if you've got a bit of, even if you don't have the experience in real estate, if you've got that character that people trust, people will be willing to jump on board. And, this has been a great build. And I think I just messaged other people the other day and we decided, because we did have an exit strategy that based on the appraisal. Yeah, so the exit strategy was going to be, let's get it appraised. We were aiming for the $1 million, didn't come in. So we were going to pull our money out and then just keep it. But then have, very little invested. So we just had a conversation the other day with everyone. It's like, you know what, we're just going to refinance what we can, see what's going on with the lenders, because everything's crazy at the minute, up and down. Mm-hmm. We'll see what we can get. And everyone's probably going to get about 40, 50 grand of their money back. And then we're just going to leave the rest in, rather than pull it out to where we're tight on cash flow or anything like that. We're like, let's just keep it cash flowing, let it build up, the kitty in the pot, get 40, 50 grand in our pockets. So if we see another opportunity or a house, we can act and put a deposit down straight away. But the other idea out of that exit strategy, which came, I've had an idea called the chili pot. And I call it, I was actually explaining this to someone yesterday. I call it the chili pot because it's like, we're just going to put a pot of money together and do the burr strategy. So I was thinking like burr or cold. That's why I called it chili pot. Chili. I'm all just going to put this money into, I had to call it something, right? So we're going to put this money into this chili pot and we're just going to sit on it and see what happens. Set up a share, set up a corporation, and then we'll all be shareholders and no one can spend that money without shareholders' unanimous approval. So it's not like it's sitting in a pot and can go anywhere. And then as opportunities arise, which they will, then now we've got this pot. And if if we start a pot with, we're aiming for $1 million pot. Let's just get $1 million pot, sit there, and hey, we might get 2-3 houses done with cash, and then we got to refinance those. So do we bring JVs in and refinance it, restock the pot, and we'll just see where the pot is in 5 years.
Yeah.
It's highly likely it's going to have shrank. And then we'll just see what properties we own, and then we'll do a file. But everyone who I'm, we're speaking to and we're doing that with are in the same kind of situation. We're not looking to retire in the next 5 years. We're not looking, there's a high likelihood we're going to be active for the next 10 years around real estate. So, it's not something that would be someone that's looking to retire, 50 plus, that kind of thing.
Right. Let's transition into an active deal that we were talking about before. And give a little promo here. And I'll just open up the mic for you to talk about it, but it seemed really interesting when we talked about it last week or so, and we just talked about it before the call. So give us the rundown on it.
So that came from, so we used to have the property management company, which you guys are aware of. And then once we bought the holiday resort, I needed to free up time. And property management, anyone who manages their own, it doesn't free up your time. It eats it up. So the guy who was working for us, we offered it to him. He then bought the company on a rent to own because he didn't have the cash to come in. So he's paying us over 2 years. But now I've just freed up I don't even know how I did it because I'm busy now. So I'm like, where was I doing this other stuff? I don't have any time. But then we had an opportunity to take on this troubled property, a troubled tenant, let's say. And I'd said to this, to the guy who bought the company, I said, this is probably a good property to take on and learn because she is going to be every nightmare you get across every tenant. And it's better to get it now and deal with it while someone's going to pay you than it be on your own properties. So we took this property on, and I was right. She was the worst tenant ever. So a little bit about back history to this house. So it's right next door to 2 of my rentals. I own the property right next to it, and I own the property behind it. Now, when we were renting the property next to it, she moved in the basement. So I did back up because I saw it. Like, she's like, oh, it's backed up. What do I do? I was like, call your landlord, blah, 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 all the rest of it. But then after about a week, we realized if you show up to do a reno at this house, don't speak to the lady next door. It's like, you'd just be like, carry your tool bag like that as you walk in. Because if you made eye contact, you weren't getting away for 3 hours. She was like batshit crazy. So anyway, she's now, I guess, and the landlord who owns a house, he didn't have the skills to deal with this type of person. And then it ended up going to a hearing. It was on the hearings, which is never good. And then he had a court order against him that he has to fix X, Y, Z. And if he doesn't fix it, rent goes down by $100 a month. And he gets fined, I forget the number. Let's say it's $500 a day, but it was a lot. It was high. And it wasn't anything crazy. It was like, fix the window that doesn't close, fix the leaky tap. It was just stuff. So this went on for a year and a half.
Whoa.
Guy now owes nearly 400 grand, or 300 or 400. It's a lot. It's like, it's way more than the house is worth. But it's not secured to the house, which I didn't know.
Interesting.
But this is just government money from the enforcement agency from the tenancy branch. So it's not secured to anything. He just owes it. And he's done. And then he's like, can you help me? We're like, sure. So we went in. We were like, look, you got to get this done. Like, there's no way around it. So we got the work done. We got all the professionals in, got all the stuff signed off under the order. We then increased our rent the next month back to $1,200. She disputed it. And we're like, no, we've done all the work as per the order. And now your rent goes back. She's paying $100 a month, by the way, right now.
Whoa.
He's paying enough money to cover the property management fee. And I said to him, like, our property management company is 10% of collected rent only. But we said, we are not doing that because we're not working for $10. It's not even, like, this is going to be 70% of the guy's time. So then, in Scotland, we got a few tips, always be recording when you're at the door, if it's allowed in your area, all that kind of stuff. And so he's learned the value of having that. Or not having it, I should say. So he's learning through the School of Hard Knocks as well. Now it's going back. She contested it, the 10-day notice. It went to the 10-day notice. They said, well, this order kind of says that if there's a dispute, you've got to file to get it put back to normal rent. She went, but this hearing is just whether this 10-day notice is allowed. And it wasn't because we hadn't filed. She goes, it's kind of, but I want to interpret it this way. It's like, well, she didn't dispute it until after we'd give her the 10-day notice. Like, she should have disputed it before. So anyway, went backwards and forwards. The adjudicator actually said to her, look, you will owe this rent because he has done everything as per the order. So do not spend that rent money or you're going to end up with a 10-day notice. But she's just fighting everything. It's like, oh, this guy's great today instead of it being blue. File, wait 3 months. Because she's paying $100 a month. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And she's got nowhere to go because nobody is going to put this crazy woman in her house. So I turned around to the owner and said, you know what? Have you thought of just getting rid of it? Like, what do you owe on the house? He's like, you know what? I'd sell it for 200 grand. It might be 220. I haven't got that. And I went, really? Because I know the house next door that's mine is worth 379. The house behind it that's mine is worth 379. And they're the same, but this one's probably a little bit bigger at the house. It's got a totally unfinished basement, so ready just to frame. All you gotta do is put new roof, new windows, frame, finish, move the backyard in so you got parking for 5 vehicles at the back, done. So it's probably about well, let's go over the top. Let's say 100 grand reno to do it really nice. You're probably 100 grand reno. You end up for 300. It's going to be worth 379, 3 to 399 straight away. No questions asked in today's market.
Nice.
So you could be, again, and then that would rent for close to 3 grand a month, up and down.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's the opportunity to kind of like buy cash, value add, put a mortgage on it, get a lot of your capital back out, and still be able to cash flow well.
Yeah, or at worst case scenario, someone might end up leaving $20,000-$30,000 in there.
Yeah.
What we do with our JVs in that situation is, hey, if we end up not being able to get all the money out, the appraisal comes in low, which can happen. We'll pay you an interest. So let's say we're getting $1,000 a month cash flow. We'll pay an interest on that 30 grand. I mean, it's a lower rate. It's not for nothing. Let's pay you 4%, something like that. We'll pay you 4% interest, and then we'll split up the cash flow.
Oh, well.
So,
Nice.
So they make a little bit of interest on their money. So now they're being compensated for tying the capital up. Not to mention the fact they're making it anyway, but
Yeah, it's a
win-win-win.
yeah, it is. It's a double dip, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we used to get it. We used to manage the property and get paid on the reno side and then be part owners. So it was like triple dip on that. So
right on. And, for this type of renovation, are you finding that COVID is, what's the right word? Like delaying renovations because trades are fearful of contracting the virus or anything like that, or is it going pretty smoothly?
So yes and no. I would say it delaying and
It depends, right? The classic. It depends.
So what's happening is a lot of people don't want to work together, so you can't have 10 guys in the same space.
Right.
So you've got to be really much like, okay, this guy's finished. He's finishing on Friday. You're starting on Monday, and you need to be done by Friday because this guy's starting on Monday. The other thing it's done is it's driven up the price. We just got some drywalling done. We got a downstairs 2-bedroom suite drywalled and most of upstairs drywalled. So this is like, a 2,000 square foot house, and the bill came in at like 14 grand, which
That's gross.
is higher than we usually pay. So, and I didn't get a quote, and I don't usually. I know a lot of the guys, and this was a guy I haven't used, but Kim recommended. Don't get me wrong, work is quality, like no questions asked. But it was a little higher than what we do, so we've just asked for a cost and time breakdown, and I'm guessing that time breakdown is going to be like one guy doing a job at a time versus him having the 3 guys in there. So I'm guessing the hours have probably gone right up because labor gets eaten up. When it's one guy doing a job and you're missing that second lackey to help pass something to you or go get something or run to the supply store. Like the times are changing, so I've got to be a bit more careful in the budgeting for that for sure.
Right on. I think that's a really cool opportunity, and hopefully somebody watching this is interested in jumping on board. And so if you are, Gary's info was at the very beginning, and we'll recap it on at the end, and we'll happily be a part of that deal as well if we can. We're gonna break into kind of our next section, which is just a rapid fire. So we got a few different questions. Yeah, get you warm up, get your blood flowing.
You didn't let me see the questions. I tried to have a sneak peek, and I was like,
nope. We did some prep beforehand, and we completely skipped over that part. So that
what's the winning score so far? And what do I win if I get the top score?
you win a trip.
I get one of those T-shirts.
Yeah, we'll give you a T-shirt, but you got to treat us out to a boat ride.
Okay, we can do that.
All right on. So I'm going to start off here. So what is one thing that every visitor to Port Alberni needs to either do or see in your market?
Get out on Sproat Lake on a boat, for sure. That is the gem of this valley, 100%.
Unreal. And I can attest that it's gorgeous there. What is a local business you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, there's a few. Okay.
And it can be the fishing dock.
Okay, you know what? Let's Empire Plumbing. The guy worked right through COVID, solid every day. He was putting in 14-hour days. I'd like to say thank you to him. He's frazzled and in so much need of a holiday, which he can't even go on because no one's flying anywhere. I'd like to our property management company, which is AV Maintenance Services. So he's taken just a headache right off me. Home Hardware, Beaver Creek Home Center, those guys that stayed open and just allowed work to keep going. And all the people that work there supported that around that. And obviously, I think in every town right now, all the people that were working on the front line, and that's from the takeaway from, our Tim Hortons that kept us supplied in coffee, just so we could keep doing what we were doing. Like, big shout out to all those people because they really didn't have to. And so many people stepped up during this time. So yeah, I think we shout out to those people.
Well said, Gary. If you could have a fireside chat with anybody in history, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Okay, I'm going to stick to someone famous here because if I got personal, I'd probably end up crying on the video here.
Fair enough.
I'm trying not to do that. Actually, alive, I think Daley Thompson. So he was a boyhood hero of mine. So he was a decathlete for Great Britain, and he never lost a decathlon his whole time he competed. Wow. 2-time Olympic, like not one. Everyone he entered, he won. He was in the Los Angeles Olympics. He led from the start to the finish of every event, and he had to get a PB in order to. There was something he had to do, anyways, for a PB. And I remember him running the 1500. And the last picture, and I've actually got it on my wall in my office here. It's up on there. It's one of my reminders of just, to drive and be great. And he's standing. I'm actually looking at it now. He's got his hands on his hips, and every other guy is just lying flat on the back out of breath. And he's just like, because he just, I look at someone, I'm like, and I remember him snapping his pole in the pole vault, and he still got up and went back at it, and just through that adversity. And he's just a super role model. And I guess I did decathlon as well as I was growing up, and in the military. So it kind of, to have him as a kid idol and then see him, I'd like to sit down and just see what he did, what made him so dedicated for all those years. Because to get to that level, and any sportsman at that level of craft, but I think because he was my boyhood hero, and I've never ever met him, someone I followed, watched on TV, and now I've got a picture of him on my wall to remind me to keep going, stick at it, and do it for a long time, and don't let anything beat you down. Not other people, but it's about stand up for yourself. Because the decathlon, unlike the 100 meters, it's about beating 9 other guys. The decathlon's about trying to be good at so many things. So I think a quote he said was, it's like having 10 girlfriends. You got to be perfect for every one of them. Otherwise you're going to get in trouble.
I love this guy.
This quote, not mine. I've got this signed picture my auntie sent, and to win an Olympic medal, not just once but twice, that's the dedication and commitment that goes into reach that level of something. I don't know if I have it, but I'd love to speak to people that do have that. So
I don't know if you're going to win the award for the rapid fire part of this, but you're giving great answers. What is your favorite real estate related book or resource, something that's helped you get along the way in real estate?
So there's 3. I think The Cycles to the Canadian Real Estate, Don R. Campbell. Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I think is a staple for the concept. And then More Than Cashflow by Julie Broad, which actually founded Revenue. I think that is a true investor's journey. I think anyone who's gone through the process, the seminars, the back, that would be my top 3 for sure.
Incredible.
Nice. Would you rather have great partners with bad tenants or great tenants with bad partners?
Great partners, bad tenants. You can always kick tenants out and get new ones.
Great answer. Would you rather have a headache of 10 different partners on 10 different properties, or one single partner, but you only get 6 properties?
Or one single partner, 6 properties. Yeah, headache free. It's about making life as easy as possible. Real estate should help you live your life. It shouldn't become your life.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Unless you're total geeks like us.
Yeah. Would you rather be on stage teaching in a clown outfit for an entire year, or be plunging a backed up toilet from a tenant?
Oh, clown outfit for sure. Yeah, I'd rather teach in the clown outfit. So a bit of history. I actually like getting to costume parties, but I like making them and stuff like that. So yeah, any chance to get in a costume and dress up, I'm down for that.
But man, well, this has been a great journey. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what revenue is up to these days?
So revenue is actually just went through a whole, I don't want to say rebranding, but we've went through a relaunch, I guess would be a better word. So we just got the new website from a great guy that you guys recommended to us. So thank you again for that. We're putting a lot more content. We want to update, the YouTube channel. We're going to focus on the growth of that. Doug Meyer, we've grown the team. So Doug Meyer's come on the team. He's now doing the podcast, the weekly webinars, like he's on it. So he is so regimented. It's awesome because I felt like that was a missing piece of the puzzle. So it's nice to get that on board. So yeah, well, you're going to see a lot more content coming out from us. We're going to start, as yourselves, we're going to start connecting a lot more of the network and seeing where we can help within the community and join a few more dots and help, I guess, the next wave get to the next level. So
yeah. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
If they email info@revenue, REVNYOU.com, and then arrange a time, and usually I'll jump on a phone call, and most people know I'll get on the phone with them, I'll chat, I'll stop what I'm doing for an hour and help somebody. I'm okay with that. I just need to schedule it in usually. So
we've had numerous calls where you're working on machinery or doing things, but you still give me the time, so I can attest that you are always available.
If I can do it, I will. If I can help someone, I will. And it's not about, it truly isn't about just giving my time to get something in return, because I know, what you put out into the universe, you're going to get back tenfold.
Awesome, man. And so if you guys are watching this and you're not already a part of our community, Gary's really active in our Reinvestor communities. Hop on Facebook. It's just the Reinvestors group community. Lots of awesome conversation. A lot more of our videos are going to be coming out through that community first. So if you want to see it first, jump up into our Facebook Reinvestors community. Thank you for watching this interview with Gary. Join us on our next episode as we continue this awesome interview series, interviewing experts from all across Canada and learn about what strategies work and where. And for that, Gary, thank you so much for being here. Any last words, my man?
No, that was perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, I've had fun. That was fun, guys. I actually enjoyed taking some time out. And we're trying to get this resort running. So to just stop, chill, and have a bit of fun, this was awesome. So thank you.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks so much, Gary. Appreciate having you, man.
Thanks, everybody.